Imagine you stumble upon an ancient buried vault. You pry open the heavy doors, and inside, you don't just find weapons, you find perfectly minted gold coins, brilliant plays written in Sanskrit, complex astronomical charts, and a massive iron pillar that somehow hasn't rusted a single bit in over 1,000 years. You haven't just found a kingdom's treasury, you have discovered the golden age of India. Welcome to the epic story of the Gupta Empire. Let's rewind to the 3rd century AD. The massive Mauryan Empire we talked about earlier, it had collapsed. For a while, the Kushans ruled the north and the Satavahanas ruled the south. But soon, their power faded too, creating a massive political vacuum. Out of this chaos, a local family living in the fertile plains of Magad saw their chance. It started small with a ruler named Sri Gupta and then his son Ghatotkach. They were just local chiefs, but then came the grandson Chandragupta I. Chandragupta I wasn't just ambitious, he was incredibly smart. He made a massive strategic move by marrying a powerful princess from the Lichavi clan. This single marriage brought him so much prestige and territory that he upgraded his title from a simple Maharaja to Maharaja Dhiraja, the king of kings. He kicked off what we now call the Gupta imperial phase. But if Chandragupta I lit the fire, his son Samudragupta turned it into a blazing inferno. Historians literally call Samudragupta the Indian Napoleon. He was an unstoppable military genius who marched his armies across North India and deep into the south, forcing dozens of local rulers to bow down to him. When he was done conquering, he performed the legendary Ashwamedha, the horse sacrifice, to prove his absolute supremacy. But here is the crazy part about Samudragupta. He wasn't just a ruthless warlord. If you look at the gold coins from his era, you don't just see him holding a weapon, you see him sitting peacefully playing a stringed instrument called the veena. He was a poet king, a patron of the arts who supported Buddhist and Hindu scholars alike. Then came his son Chandragupta II, also known by his legendary title Vikramaditya. Under Vikramaditya, the Gupta Empire hit its absolute peak. He completely crushed foreign enemies like the Shakas in the west, took over vital trade routes, and made the city of Ujjain his second capital. His royal court was so brilliant that it was famous for having the Navaratnas, the 9 gems. These were 9 absolute geniuses of the ancient world, including the legendary poet Kalidas and the great astronomer Varahamihira. Now, how did this family actually pull this off? What was their secret sauce? First, location. They controlled the Gangetic Plains, the most fertile land in the country, which meant endless food. Second, they were sitting right next to central India's iron ore deposits, meaning they could pump out deadly military equipment. And third, trade. They controlled the overland and coastal routes, selling highly demanded Indian silk, textiles, and spices all the way to the Eastern Roman Empire. You might think an empire this powerful ruled with an iron fist, taxing people to death and throwing everyone in dungeons. But actually, it was the exact opposite. We know this because of a Chinese traveler named Fa Hien who visited India during this time. He was completely amazed by how the Guptas ran things. Instead of micromanaging everything from the capital, the Guptas delegated power. They divided the empire into provinces governed by princes and districts run by local officials. Fa Hien wrote that the government was incredibly kind. People were free to move around, the roads were completely safe from robbers, crime was unbelievably low, and ordinary citizens were actually prospering. But in history, every golden age eventually fades. The Guptas faced a terrifying new villain, the White Huns. These were fierce, nomadic warriors invading from Central Asia. A brilliant Gupta ruler named Skandagupta fought them off and saved the empire. But the cost of this endless war was devastating. The royal treasury was completely drained. After Skandagupta died, the empire ran out of strong leaders. The military was exhausted, the money was gone, and trade routes were disrupted. Sensing weakness, the local governors, who used to be loyal to the Guptas, suddenly declared themselves independent kings. Regional powers, like the ambitious Maukhari dynasty, began to rise up and carve out their own territories. By the late 6th century, the mighty unified Gupta Empire had fractured back into dozens of smaller pieces. But they didn't just disappear. The Guptas left behind a legacy that is etched into the very DNA of India. From massive leaps in mathematics and astronomy to breathtaking Sanskrit literature to coins and pillars that tell the story of a time when art, science, and peace ruled the subcontinent. It wasn't just an empire, it was India's shining golden age.